was my best Canadian. Beautiful day. I actually talked with my dad this morning. He lives up in northern Maine in Presque Isle, so that's starting to creep into his vocabulary. He retired and moved north, which is wonderful for his adult children. But it's a lot better than Florida. Just speaking from personal opinion. All right, I have a script here. I need to get to it. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church, where compassion leads us to work for justice and equality. I'm really glad you came here today, and it's my hope that you find something here that nourishes your heart, feeds your mind, and grows your spirit. Before I introduce myself, I'd ask Linda Ice to come and speak a little bit. She's got some words for us.
I will be brief. I am Linda Ice. I'm here this morning not as the office administrator, but as a 16 going on 17-year member of Westside and serving this year as our stewardship chair. Today marks the start of our 2024-2025 commitment campaign. We are calling it Flame On. Over the next 5 weeks, we will be sharing some details and information regarding the financial needs for the coming church year. But for this first week, we want you to think about a couple of questions. One being, why do you want to keep the West Side flame burning? And the second being, what would you miss if West Side went away? You will hear Darren reflect on that this morning and others throughout the month of March. We'll be sharing in newsletters. Through email, I will share, like I said, the details of the financial needs. We have 3 tables set up in church, in the church for Sunday mornings. You can visit those and answer those questions too if you'd like, and start receiving the individual information. We will have commitment forms out in a couple of weeks, but we do want you to ponder things before you sign on the dotted line, so to speak, okay? So thank you so much for your help in advance, and we look forward to you to working with you this month and kind of sharing what we all need to know. Thanks.
Thank you. So my name is Darren Cote, as Linda mentioned, and I am your worship leader this morning. Be you a spiritual seeker, an atheist, or a theist, Westside is a community of many beliefs, genders, and sexualities. It's a community of diverse cultural, racial, and class backgrounds, a community of varied abilities and gifts. Some here find inspiration in the great books, others in the great outdoors, and others still in great conversations. Whoever you may be, all are welcome in our inclusive congregation. To newcomers and old friends alike, together we say, welcome. At Westside, we are raising the next generation of Unitarian Universalists, and we want them to know that they are an important part of our community. Several years ago, we chose to be radically inclusive and to adopt a multi-generational worship where our services include all family members. So welcome to all children and youth of all ages. Excuse me. So our West Side community is moving and shaking. Moving and shaking. I kept that in, Jan. I like that. Yeah. There are a number of announcements included in your order of service. Please take any of them with you that you might need for reminders for this week or to share with others. But I'd like to take a moment to point out one that is time sensitive. It's notes of support and encouragement for the young people traveling on the youth spring break in 2024, raising anti-racist UUs. These notes need to be into Nikki, who will be up here in a few minutes, so you'll place a face with a name, no later than March 5th. So that's Monday, I believe. Tuesday? Coming up. It's not in the script, so I don't know. And I also want to take a moment to celebrate the return of Russell Elevin to the pulpit. Beginning in April, Russell will be our new remote minister. Russell brings to this new opportunity a long and fruitful history with Westside, as well as deep experience in church ministry, nonprofit management, and higher education. I don't know if Russell will be catching the Facebook stream later on, but if you are, welcome, Russell. And to those of us who are wondering about joining Westside, becoming a member is straightforward. It simply requires signing our membership book. Signing on the dotted line, I think Linda mentioned, but it's less anxious than that. If you're interested or have any questions about our congregation and our beliefs, please ask one of the ushers or greeters or one of the many people who will greet you after the service. And for those of you who are joining us online, or it's your first time visiting with us today, and you're not already on our mailing list, please sign up by clicking the link at the bottom of our homepage at the westsideu.org website. And for those of you that are here in person with us, we please ask that you take a moment now to silence all of your devices. Lon Burnam, former executive director of the Dallas Peace Center, is joining us today. We're really excited to have you. Lon will reflect on a topic of interest to UUs everywhere. Democracy needs us now. Why just voting is not enough to save us from Christian nationalism. Really looking forward to that. And a quick program update. Jana Kennard will be stepping in for Glenda to lead our meditation this morning. I usually don't give her that much fair warning. I like to keep her on her toes. She does fine. So now, I invite you all to take a deep breath, and from wherever you are, settle into this sacred space as we create, and let us worship together as we listen to this morning's prelude, Stand By Me by Ben E. King, performed by Dr. Yuki Kumamoto, Rocio and Jonathan Sarmiento Ayala, and me. And Sophia, of course.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me.
Our opening words today are prayer for living intention. by Joseph M. Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we be, as people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. So today we're going to do something a little different. Linda mentioned this with regard to our chalice lighting. Normally I'll ask somebody to come up, we'll speak some words, and we'll light the chalice. It's an important part of our tradition here at the UU that I'm learning as a fairly new member. But over the next few weeks, we want to ask church members and friends to share their thoughts as to the importance of making a financial contribution to Westside, a giving commitment. Sure, all of us in our own way participate and perform multiple roles, and for that we're thankful, but obviously we need the bucks to keep the lights on and make this place a comfortable place for you to come, and so that kind of comes along with it, and I want to talk a little bit about that. So how we frame that today and for our stewardship campaign is the idea of about keeping the flame on, right? The stewardship team, comprised of myself, Jeff Canclini, Linda Ice, Cindy Fountain, Diane Jones, Dwight Robards, Mary Alice Kretzinger, and Stephanie Jeffers. And if you folks don't mind just standing and letting everybody see who you are. I've sat in meetings with these folks, and although it's feels like a thankless task, it's quite a lot of fun with these guys. Very creative, lots of new thinking, and I think this stewardship campaign is going to show that. Anyway, they asked me to kind of get the ball rolling by answering these same questions, these two questions, myself. But first things first. Hands of a doctor here, just no shaking or anything. Nothing to see. It's all good. Love this guy. So the first question that we're going to ask you, and I'm going to try to answer, is why do I want to keep the flame burning? Hang in there. So there's three things for me as I kind of thought about this morning while I had my Special K with strawberries. It's okay to have help, right? I think we're all sort of warriors. We all are very passionate about things. I'm one of these people. But I always kind of thought that I'm a bit of an introvert, believe it or not. This is all therapy here to help get me out of my shell. And so what I didn't realize was how much easier and safer and happier I am when I have a community of people that support me and that I can support in these activities that I feel so passionately about. And it's, as Daniel talked about last week, it's the eighth principle. It's the beloved community. Do I have that right, Daniel? Good. All right. So this is a beloved community, and for this community to thrive and grow, we need money. So kind of how I thought about it was just like, you can give your time, but you need to also make sure that you provide a financial commitment to help keep things going, what you can do, as you are able. The second thing that I love about this church and why I want to make sure this flame is here every week is that I feel just like I'm growing. For those of you that maybe had your job change when COVID hit, I was one of those people that started working from home, and while initially it was really cool, I got to hang out with my dogs, kind of not have that harrowing 30-minute commute from Weatherford to Fort Worth every day. I missed people, but I also was kind of happy to be away from people that I didn't really want to spend a lot of time with. But these people here, I miss. I really miss. And what you helped me do is you helped me focus my purpose, right? I think it was John Irving in the Cider House Rules who, character Homer Wells said, it is his purpose to be of use. And that's what my purpose is. I just really want to be of use. But I don't want that effort to be wasted, and I don't feel that it's wasted here. I feel like everything I do here is of use. And last, on that line of being of use, I want to contribute. And the contribution, as I've said, is both financial and giving of myself and my time. And believe me, I have a BA in economics. I can pinch pennies like the best of them. We were just talking this morning in the fellowship, outside the fellowship hall, how you can save water before it gets hot by just putting it in a 2-quart container that you can then water your plants or feed your dogs. I mean, I like to watch my pennies. But you can do that and still be about things that matter to you. And this flame matters to me. And so I need to do my part to make sure that it stays on. So I riffed a little bit there, but thank you for your patience. Let's move on to our opening hymn, which is number 347, Gather the Spirit, in the gray hymnal. So please stand if you're able and join our song leader, Rocio Sarmiento Ayala. Please remain standing and join me in our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to work for justice through action, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. You may be seated. So please come forward if you are young at heart or would like to have a close-up view of our Time for All Ages presented by our outstanding Director of Lifespan Religious Education, Nikki Kennedy.
Good morning.
And we are going to sing the kids out once we get finished with number 402 from You I Receive in the Gray Hymnal.
Good morning, friends. Good morning. I'm so happy to see you guys. Some of you I got to see last week, and some of you I didn't, and I'm so happy. So last week, I'm going to do a quick little recap. We talked about building a house of love. We talked about how it takes all of us to do that together, to work together. There is no lack of action that we can take together. Just like in Unitarian Universalism, we have more than one principle. One principle can't possibly share all the values that we have. One just isn't enough. So today, I want to share with you guys about someone from UU history, someone who rallied people together, who made sure education was happening for all, and who helped support good change. Her name was Margaret Fuller. She was born in 1810. And for those of you that think some of us were born in 1810, I promise nobody here was born in 1810. Yeah, we'd be a little over 200. Yeah, good math. Good math on a Sunday morning. Excellent. She was amongst the early Unitarians. Her father served in the Senate. She learned to read at an early age. She saw the power of community, of people gathering. She saw the power of community and people gathering. But you see, she wanted to do more. She wanted all of her friends to be able to read, to be able to think, to be able to write, to be able to ask the tough questions. So she started a group called Conversations. Now, maybe some of you are familiar with the word conversations. A conversation is, how would you describe a conversation? This is a conversation, that's true. How would you give a definition? Going back and forth, having a talk, that's really good. So she had these amazing conversations with people. It was a place for them to learn. It was a place that she taught others how to read. It was a place that she taught people to read and write, to think deep, to think hard, to ask questions that maybe weren't always appreciated by other people. She also recognized the lack of opportunities for women. So she encouraged women to think and to write down their ideas, to articulate what was going on in their brains. She was part of the Transcendentalist Circle. She was friends with people that you may have heard of, like Ralph Waldo Emerson, David Henry Thoreau, Theodore Parker, and they were part of the philosophical and spiritual movement of Transcendentalism in America. She also called for the first women's rights convention in Seneca Falls. You know, back in 1810, there weren't a lot of people that could vote, just white men basically. And she wanted to help change that. She helped start conversations. She was a trailblazer in ideas. She was a trailblazer in reading and writing and teaching others. She was a forerunner in the women's suffrage movement. Now, maybe some of you have heard of a word called a suffragette. That was someone from the early 1900s. They worked very hard for women to get the right to vote. And in 1920, the 19th Amendment happened for women to get to vote. But, just a second, Aiden, but in 1965, the Voting Act happened, and all people could vote. You see, voting is important. Voting shares and speaks for us, but voting is not enough. So just like people like Margaret Fuller who gathered in community, just like people who are in our building with us today, we want to vote, but we also want to make a difference. So I wonder how you guys are going to help make a difference. I wonder what actions you're going to take for your voices to be heard, to make this world a better place for all people. I just wonder. I hope you guys have a great week, and I look forward to you answering these questions with us individually and with us as a community. Thank you.
From you I gave, through you I
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Boo Boo.
From you I receive.
You gonna come with me? You gonna come with me and play?
Together we share, and from this we live.
Good morning. My name is Brenda McKeon, and I am your Pastoral Service Associate this morning. In our community at Westside, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person in our community has value. Submit your joys and concern by completing one of these forms at the desk, or by contacting pastoralcare@westsideu.org, or you can contact me, Debbie Rake, John Fisher, Carol Kappa, Barbara Crotty, or Jane Hardwick, who are current members of the team. We share concerns with one another, knowing that sorrows come into each person's lives, knowing that together we offer comfort. And we also share our joys with each other, knowing too that joys come in our lives, knowing that together our voices can raise the chorus of celebration. And we have some of each. Today, Barbara Crotty fell a few weeks after she had her knee replacement surgery, and her knee is fine, but she broke her wrist and also broke a few vertebrae in her back. So she'll be having surgery sometime later this month. We have another concern from Jane Hardwick. Sharon Salee continues to struggle with physical issues. Please keep her in your thoughts. She enjoys getting cards, and if you choose to send one, please send it to her apartment address, and it will be taken to her. If you choose to call her, please leave a message on her voicemail, as she is unable to answer. A third concern is also from Jane. Ginger Courtney, who was a member of our church for several years and moved to Wichita, Kansas last year, has been very ill with pneumonia. She is now home from the hospital and continues to recover. Please send her healing thoughts. And then a joy and a concern. A joy is from Sue Anderson and Diane Nixon. Some flowers are already blooming in the garden, and the concern is that weeds are growing quickly. Please join the garden team on Saturday, March 9th for a work day from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. To ready the garden for spring planting. Another joy and concern is from Linda Monroe. This past week, she fell. Her joy is that she has no broken bones, but the concern is finding a halter that little dog Scooby can't escape from, so that we don't have to do anything more with her. Another joy is that we have changed the name of the usher greeter team to the welcome team. The concern is that we sometimes don't have enough members, so if you would like to join the team, please see Sue Anderson. And the last joy is from me and I guess Myrtle McMahon. My grandson, Antonio Gonzalez IV, will celebrate his first birthday on Tuesday. Please make space each week for musical centering, knowing that the life and experience of each person matters, and that together our joy shines bright. As we hold the joys and concerns among us, both spoken and unspoken, let us sing our centering song, number 1002 in the Teal hymnal, Comfort Me.
Good morning. My name is Jana Francois Kennard, and I'm one of the meditation leaders here at Westside. Our meditation will begin with an introduction before we move into a minute of silence. Our bell will sound to signal the start of your own meditation, prayer, or reflection, and it will sound again at the end. Our meditation today is In the Midst of a World by the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Ann Parker, and it's amended just a little bit. In the midst of a world marked by tragedy and beauty, there must be those who bear witness against unnecessary destruction and who, with faith, rise and lead in freedom with grace and power. There must be those who speak honestly and do not avoid seeing what must be seen of sorrow and outrage, or tenderness and wonder. There must be those whose grief troubles the water while their voices sing and speak refreshed worlds. There must be those whose exuberance rises with lovely energy that articulates earth's joys. There must be those who are restless for respectful and loving companionship among human beings, whose presence invites people to be themselves without fear. There must be those who gather with the congregation of remembrance and compassion, draw water from old wells, and walk the simple path of love for neighbor. And there must be communities of people who seek to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly, who call on the strength of soul force to heal, transform, and bless life. May we be good company to one another in our questions and our journey. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Thanks, Jana. Here at Westside, we practice our UU faith in a variety of ways. One of those ways is by giving 100% of our weekly collection, unless otherwise designated, to support organizations who carry out our transcendent values of compassion, justice, and equity. Westside's plate offering for March is Partnership with Native Americans, PWNA. You may recall we first learned about PWNA, last October when the CEO, Josh Arce, came and spoke here at Westside. If you missed that service, you can watch it on our YouTube channel. Partnership with Native Americans' mission is to serve reservation communities with the highest needs while supporting long-term solutions that build tribal capacity. To meet its vision of strong, self-sufficient Native American communities. It respects and supports tribal self-determined programs and initiatives. PWNA serves the remote locations most organizations cannot reach, benefiting reservations across the United States, including but not limited to the Dakotas, Idaho, and New Mexico. In addition to meeting immediate needs, PWNA serves Native students in all 50 states with its scholarship service. The land that our church sits on was once the community of Wichita and affiliated tribes. Learning this history is important, but recognizing that Native Americans are still here and have been marginalized since being deprived of their communities is also important and calls us as Unitarian Universalists to work together toward equity for all. So please, give generously to Partnership with Native Americans as you are able, and thank you. You can give online through the church's giving page or by using the Vanco mobile app. Just select the Service Project Fund. You can also mail a check to the church at 901 Page, Fort Worth, Texas 76110. Thanks for your offering. The offering song today will be Karen Tanaka's Swan, performed by Yuki. I know we were just collecting money just then, but I was on a pond somewhere in Austria with the swans. What a gift your music is. So thank you for putting into practice the spiritual virtue of generosity. Our giving connects us to the wider web of our community. And thank you for also keeping your stewardship commitment current. We'll keep bugging you about it, to keep our congregation's important work going. So next for our reflection, I want to talk a little bit about our guest, Lon Burnam. So Lon was raised here in Fort Worth. He has a BA in government from UT Austin and a master's in city and regional planning from UT Arlington. Lon was married by the Jefferson UU minister to Carol Rourke in 1979. Lon is very active in the Fort Worth meeting of the Religious Society of Friends. You might know them as the Quakers. Lon is very well known for having served in the Texas House of Representatives from 1997 to 2015. He says he is most proud of his 12 years as director of the Dallas Peace Center, where he served until 2010. Lon notes that most Quakers are faith-based pacifists, and as a pacifist, Lon believes it is an obligation to seek justice for all. Please welcome Lon Burnam.
So earlier in the service, Darren mentioned that you might want to stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone. And I didn't realize it until I said yes, that I've stretched myself beyond my comfort zone. I don't think I've ever given a sermon before or a reflection. And it's like, okay, where do you start and where do you end? So I was told that it would be perfectly okay to only talk for 15 minutes instead of 20. In fact, it would be appreciated. So I'm timing myself. So when I agreed to do this, I was in the middle of helping organize a workshop that we held last weekend called Democracy Needs Us Now. I want to put an emphasis on that. Democracy needs us now more than ever. There's no time in this century that democracy has been at greater risk. I mean, if you talk about some of the other centuries, there's World War II, there's the Civil War. You can go back and talk about all these wars, but I want you to think about McCarthyism in the middle of the last century. I want you to think about the bumper stickers that told those of us that thought the Vietnam War was bad public policy to love America or leave it. Because I think we're at another phase just like that. And while I'm wearing my I have voted sticker, and I wear it every day since I voted, voting is simply not enough now. We are in a moment of urgent crisis. And if you haven't already voted in one primary or the other, you have procrastinated too long, because what you should be doing on the last day to vote is helping others go vote. I took somebody to vote and was earlier this week and was reminded, that cost about an hour of time just to pick somebody up, take them to the polls, and get them back. But it's very much necessary. Before I jump into the hard messaging to hopefully make you a little uncomfortable, I want to just pay homage to some of the people that have been involved with this church and with Jefferson Unitarian when it was called Jefferson Unitarian. There's Joanne and Don Jackson, there's John and Shirley Johnson, and Myrtle is still with us, thank God, but Howard is not. And there are a lot of Unitarians in this community that did and dedicated their lives to exactly what we're talking about today. I was going to list some of the Unitarians that are involved today, but then I walked into the door and I kept seeing people that I know that, oh, they're not on the card, they're not on the card. So, hey, for those of you that I know because of some form of activism, thank you. You need to triple your efforts over the next 8 months, because I think democracy is at risk. Egalitarianism is a fairly radical concept, and the early Quakers, that was one of the things that gave them a problem in England, because we were so radical in our concept, we would not bow our heads to the king or any nobility, because we just didn't recognize that nobility. And that's where the turn of phrase, don't lose your head over it, because at one point, actually, not only were we being executed, but over half of our adult population was in prison for our religious convictions, and that's the reason 3 of the original 13 colonies were set up and settled by Quakers. You've probably heard of William Penn in Pennsylvania. But extending that radical concept of egalitarianism to voting rights was alluded to in the young people's presentation today. It has been a long and arduous trip. I did a paper when I was in high school about why should I be subjected to the draft and not allowed to vote. Talk about taxation without representation. And we have people that are assaulting the right to vote today at every turn that we look at, and it all really comes back to Christian nationalism. Now, I know that you've heard recently about Christian nationalism. There's some of you that have spent more time looking at it and talking about it than I have. But the fact of the matter is, those of us that self-identify with a religious minority are just like people of color, just like people that have different than the norm accepted sexual preferences. We are all at risk because of the rise of Christian nationalism. They are a threat to all of us, and we all need to take heed to that, and we need to start talking about it. Ironically, in June a year and a half ago, I was talking to the county judge candidate, the Democratic nominee, about is it too soon to start using that phrase, Christian nationalism, in this community, because you guys may have noticed this community runs a little behind the rest of the country when it comes to political dialogue and conversation. But the fact of the matter is, we should have been calling it what it is summer a year ago, because we already had a Christian nationalist as our sheriff, and in November a year ago, we elected a Christian nationalist to be the county judge. And as recently as the last county commissioner's court, you saw where he doesn't think it's anybody's interest or concern that the government should be involved with helping people exercise that basic right to vote. So as we become more aware of what Christian nationalism means, and as I was trying to prepare to give a reflection or talk in kind of a religious context, I recalled a Lutheran minister who gave a workshop, and she called it Pray the News. And she went through a list of clippings for a moment of reflection. Here's a headline: School nixes play about gay man's death. This is on the front page of the local news of the Dallas Morning News, but it was here in Keller. Study states state of the woman worse in this state than any other state because of health care issues. Some of you may be familiar with Dave Bleeber, who's the consumer watchdog columnist for the Dallas Morning News. The Republicans in this state are eating each other alive, and it's Christian nationalism-funded efforts against normal, what some might consider healthy republicanism, which is a bygone at this point in time. I'm a big fan of keeping up with what's in the news. So in case you haven't read today's Star Telegram, try to check out the Life and Arts section today. There's a review of the book on John Lewis, In Search of the Beloved Community, Honors a Towering American. It's a book about him, and I don't go around recommending books very often, but that's one I'm going to buy, and I might get it read. I buy a lot more books than I get read. But some of you know that I kind of convene a group. We call ourselves the Good Trouble Lunch Bunch. I hereby verbally invite all of you on Fridays to come. We kind of move around, but for the month of March, we're going to be at Tommy's Hamburgers on Forest Park Boulevard. What we do is we talk about what we can do to save democracy. And that's what we're about. I asked that whatever it's called, the stipend or the honorarium for me be given to March to the Polls. I serve on the board of March to the Polls. March to the Polls is about getting young people in high school registered to vote and getting them civically engaged. It is, on the one hand, a relatively innocuous and patriotic thing to do, and on the other hand, the Christian nationalists conspired to cripple our efforts with the Fort Worth ISD and actually filed a complaint against us where there was a review. And I'm sure they're going to file a complaint against us since some of our kids showed up at the school board meeting this last week. Yeah. The kids were great, but it's like, no, you can't do it in our name. We're 501c3. We can't do this sort of thing. And I'm kind kind of focus on today's Star Telegram. My wife noted, hey, we know 3 of the 4 people that wrote letters to the editor. I said, no, we know all 4 of these people that wrote letters to the editor. So when in doubt, write a letter to the editor. They don't have the same leadership or readership that they used to have, but it is a worthwhile activity. Retired Lutheran minister who ran Goodwill Industries here in Fort Worth for years, Bernard Kern, wrote about keep the city shining bright. The welcoming of immigrants is what he's talking about. Carol said it's more than a little ironic. He's referring to Ronald Reagan in a positive context. But Bernard's pretty clever, and he knows how to, bring people in and get them to think about things. Mark York talked about don't downplay Biden's successes. I find it very interesting that people are critical of Biden on an economic front, and once again, just like Obama, he had to go in and save the economy, and he's not given credit for that. Libby Willis, who many of you know, she's very active with historic preservation efforts here, writes a letter, Judge shows 2 faces in elections. That's talking specifically about what I alluded to earlier. County Judge Tim O'Hare has been quoted in the media saying it serves, he didn't use the term Christian nationalist, I am, Christian nationalist agenda to keep vote down low. That is what's been happening in North Texas for decades. We have the lowest rate of voter participation of any metropolitan area in the country. And judgmental people like me might suggest maybe that's the reason we have some of the worst elected officials of any urban metropolitan area in the country. People are not voting. Fewer than 10% of the people actually vote in this primary. So at one point I was thinking, rhetorical question, how many, you don't have to answer this, how many have actually already voted? How many of you, oh good, how many plan to procrastinate and wait until the last day to vote? Not so good, but better than not voting. You have the right to go and hold out for the Libertarian Party or the Green Party, but I'm not sure that's such a good idea. What I really am trying to say is if you want to save democracy, you got to do more than just vote. You've got to become involved. Many people do not identify with either party right now. They have a hard time forcing themselves to go vote in one primary or the other, but there are a million other things you can do. You can donate to March the Polls, which in effect you have today. You can be a life member of the ACLU like I am, or a life member of the NAACP. There are civil rights organizations that are doing day in and day out work that you may not be able to do, but you should support their work. So I'm going to read to you a letter to the editor. A very dear friend of mine, some of you know Suzanne Mabe. She's been a neighbor or was a neighbor for 30 or 40 years. The headline is Sheriff Wayburn Insults Us All. I spoke at the Tarrant County Commissioners Court meeting February 21st to ask commissioners to vote against selling forfeited guns to commercial vendors. And there's a citation of when it was and all that sort of stuff. The next paragraph. We have an epidemic of gun violence, and we certainly have plenty of guns available. Our police and sheriff's department could reduce it by destroying guns and forfeited in crimes rather than putting them back on the street. Most police departments do, but not this Christian nationalist sheriff. He's putting them back out on the street. I was not surprised that the commissioners approved the sale, but I didn't expect that Sheriff Bill Wayburn, who was not even there to listen to our plea, would call us out as unpatriotic and say we did not understand the Second Amendment. This is what I'm talking about, the new McCarthyism, the new love it or leave it if you don't agree with our foreign policy in Vietnam. This is it. I was one of those 4, so I kind of took it a little personally. Wayburn doesn't realize that one of the most patriotic things citizens can do is stand up in a public forum and make their opinions known, especially when they oppose the actions of their own government. No truer words have ever been written. You've all heard the paraphrase or the quote from the German minister about they weren't coming for me first, but they were coming for X population group, they were coming for Y population group. They're coming for you guys. Unitarians are known as free-thinking, liberal-minded people. They are coming for you. They are attacking you on a daily basis. And it is only if we all get organized stay organized, at least for the next, well, maybe it's going to take more than 8 months. That's the election, but the way things are going, many polls indicate there's an active fear by many people that this election will not be resolved nonviolently. Given what we saw 4 years ago, that's a real good possibility. I don't care what you do, in what context, but you need to do more. And I'm going to just wrap this up with a little, no, I'm not going to wrap it up yet. I found one more note. As you could tell by the introduction, I kind of have a passion about peace and justice activities. The media is kind of fundamentally flawed anymore, and part of it is by design, by the same Christian nationalists that are funding other activities. But how many of you even saw, I didn't see it reported in any news, that an airman burned himself to death in uniform last week because we are funding genocide in Gaza. I've always opposed weapons trafficking by our national government. Our economy here in Fort Worth is built on weapons trafficking. It was not until this year that I ever heard somebody speak at City Council saying that our economy is built on an immoral foundation because of our dependence on weapons trafficking. So I was pretty impressed by that young Palestinian immigrant woman for speaking up. I'm impressed with a lot of Unitarians for speaking up, but we just are not doing enough to save the Republic. So I would ask you, I'll end with, there's a joke among Quakers that somebody was visiting our meeting, and if you don't know, I'm a part of the, oh, it's time, okay. In the unprogrammed Quaker meetings, we just sit there and pray, and occasionally somebody says something, and a visitor said, well, when does the service begin? Well, the response is the service begins as soon as we finish praying. So the joke about Unitarians is, okay, so they don't wear a cross around their neck, but have you noticed how many of them wear a question mark? It is time to stop wearing your question mark like it's a cross to bear and get out there and save the Republic. Thank you for your time this morning.
I'm pretty sure that Lon's the only one that we will allow to have the bell go off on his phone, like during his during his reflection. Important words. So please stand as you are able and join in the closing hymn, number 168 in the gray hymnal, One More Step. Our closing words today are from Amy Zucker Morgenstern, entitled Teachers Everywhere. In every person we meet, especially those who cause us discomfort, we find an opportunity for us to grow and learn, to go further along the path of transformation that is in our purpose in life. Every single one is a teacher. May the next week bring you many such moments of meeting that help you become the person you want to be, and may you welcome them with joy. I'm going to let you guys sit down here because I got to riff a little more about the chalice thing. So please be seated. The second question that you're going to see as you check out the tables outside that they've asked me to talk about today is, what would I miss if the West Side Flame went away? If you could see my script, you would see there's nothing here on this, so it's dangerous. I would miss getting claps and cheers when I participate in the West Side Band and when I participate in music. Because usually I hear, do you know who sings this song? Well, good, let's keep it that way. So West Side, helped me find my voice, and I would miss that. I was telling John this morning when I saw his red outfit that I would miss the very colorful outfits of my friend John. And I would miss the smile of the person that hands out our programs every morning, who I just spaced on. I even asked Gerald, I was like, Gerald, what's your last name? So I get it right, and I couldn't even remember his first name. Sorry, man. It's not you, it's me. No, but just anecdotally, it's being with a group of people that is reminding me on how to be a good person and helping me speak my mind in a safe place. I belong to many groups within the groups here, and I never ever feel, although we've butted heads, we've disagreed, but there hasn't ever really been any judgment. I just feel like this is a great example of a collective good where, I think as Lon said, the power of participation can really move things. And so, if that weren't here for me every Sunday, I probably would let bad habits slip in of like watching more TV and reading less news, which to Lon's point, I want to recommend if you haven't, readership is declining in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram and in the Dallas Morning News. If you just can't get that paper, or you just, you're committing so heavy here that you have no money for papers, that the Texas Tribune is free and works on foundations. It's online. It's called the Texas Tribune. It's a very good online newspaper that stays pretty up to date on what's going on. I find it to be very fair and balanced. So that helps me when I'm away from this place. Anyway, I think I'll leave it at that because our chalice flame is out just until next week. But I want you to think about what if the flame didn't come on next week or the next. I want to ask each of you to think about why it's important for you that we keep the flame on. What would you miss if the flame wasn't there? Remember, there are 3 tables outside where you can answer those questions, the questions that I answered today. We'd love to hear from you. Finally, those of you who would like to talk more with Lon can join us here in the fellowship hall for a Q&A about 15 minutes from now. Give you time to get a bio break or get a cup of coffee and chat. And now we have the congregational closing. Could I have you guys see, you're thankful that I asked you to sit down. I knew I might ramble, but if you can just join us for the closing. Go in peace, seeking justice. Go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. Go in the peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace. May it be so, blessed be, and amen. And until next week, flame on. Thank you, everyone.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand